There is only one thing that you can control in your life. That's your thoughts. You can choose to be happy or you can choose to be miserable. It's just that simple. Join me for the next hour on Law of Attraction Talk Radio, where I hope to inspire you to make the conscious decision to be happy. For that is the exact place where you need to be to create your own magnificent reality. Let us begin now. Welcome to Law of Attraction Talk Radio. I'm Jules from beautiful Southern California, and I'm thrilled that you could join us tonight, because tonight we're going to be talking about the common sense approach to money. My special guest is Berny Dorhmann, who is the founder of CEO Space, and he's also a mentor to Tony Robbins, to Jack Canfield, to even Bob Proctor. So it's going to be a wonderful show as he shows us how entrepreneurs actually make their dreams come true. There's a formula, and Bernie shares a lot with us tonight. So join us. It's all here on Law of Attraction Talk Radio. Have you been receiving your free issue of Alms Times magazine in your email box? Every 2 weeks you'll receive this top quality magazine that has spiritual, metaphysical, and scientific information that will rock your world. Go to almstimes.com, OMTIMES.com, to sign up for your free subscription today.
You are listening to your daily dose of well-being and inspiration on Law of Attraction Radio Network at LOARadionetwork.com. Hear this incredible show on your smartphone through Stitcher.com, which goes through your car stereos with Ford Sync or any auto dashboard that has the internet. Listen to our 24/7 broadcast with our mobile app as well, or just listen through an MP3 player or computer. Remember, LOARadionetwork.com, heard in over 120 countries, is the radio station for your well-being.
Well, welcome. I'm so thrilled that you're here today on Law of Attraction Talk Radio.
I'm so glad to be with you. It's such a pleasure. It's our topic, so we're very excited about sharing with all the listeners and making sure that you have a wonderful experience in day-to-day because you chose to listen to Law of Attraction Radio.
Wonderful. I love that attitude. First, let's talk the economy everywhere in the world. And to me, I kind of look at it like a blessing, because there's more opportunities flowing now to each of us if we simply get into the mindset of seeing these wonderful opportunities.
Well, as an investment banker, I have a double-edged sword there. So I have a little Donald Trump bashing, but it goes on to our topic, which is competition is the mother of all viruses on the human brain. And it's what actually defeats the law of attraction from working. And so cooperation is the download that repairs it. So in the nations you're seeing cooperate in a new way, they're overthrowing all the power of competition and doing it bloodlessly or with blood, but they're doing it very quickly. You're seeing the biggest change of the social order in the history of the world. And it's all from a warfare of cooperation versus competition. To the extent nations compete, we have this mess we have, and all of us are paying the price. To the extent they cooperate, we could be fixing the problem. At the bottom of the hourglass is where all of us live. And we go to rent a Blockbuster video or go to a food store and pick up our groceries, and we're not really affected day to day at the bottom of the hourglass. And I submit, and this is something for everyone to listen to worldwide, there are 1,000 new industries being born now. We're moving from the horseshoe to the wheel, and we're having changes that happen when you go from the horseshoe to the wheel. But we're inventing nanotechnologies, new biosciences, and alternative health. We're inventing brand new industries in nanotechnology and alternative fuels and organic growing. And as these 1,000 new industries come up, there's going to be full partnership all over the world. You're going to see the excitement you're seeing in African communities with their economies flourishing, booming, what you're seeing in Asia. And to the extent, again, that you're getting cooperation capitalism, which I call the new capitalism coming out of Asia, you see flourishing. because they're forming alliances, partnerships, and so forth. The competitive model is dying, and it doesn't really work to have 1% own more wealth than 99%. There has to be more full partnership than that. And even the wealthy, like Warren Buffett, some of the wealthiest people in the world are now calling for, you've got to tax us more. And it's wonderful to watch that full partnership come about. And it's just a change of thinking, which is what the law of attraction radio is all about.
So are you saying that we need to be taxed more, or the top 1% need to be taxed more?
Well, I think there needs to be more of a parity. To give you an example, if you look at Michael Moore's film, A Love Affair with Capitalism, he basically is saying competition is what is evil. Competitive capitalism is great evil. Cooperative capitalism is the fix. And it's not socialism, it's not communism. It's free enterprise, but it has full reporting, no secrets, total accountability. It's what we want. And in the old model, we used to have a 90% highest tax rate. And we taxed the highest, most wealthiest people at 90%. Now, they still were wealthy and had all of their privilege and yachts and airplanes and so forth. But we also had a full partnership where the bottom was able to have the head of the family work and the other partner stay home and take care of the children. And you had enough money for them to have cars and vacations and a really good life. We've lost that. If we deny that middle class lifestyle that was here in the 50s and 60s has been degraded, can we raise that for the whole world so the whole world has that lifestyle? And say, or do we want everybody working like dogs until they die, husband and wife, and never seeing each other and working like dogs till they die? I don't think so. I think there's a way in which we can have a wonderful full partnership and great economic muscle, but we have to have fair and equitable policies. Impossible with elitism capitalism, because the elitism always works on a pyramid: fear, punishment, and exploitation. So they're always trying to kind of punish, the exploitation in the middle of that pyramid that they're trying to seek. And what we want to do is get a picture put together where we have, in absolute terms, a celebration. We want a wheel philosophy of how to organize a dentist office or a fortune company. We call that, I've taken 10 years to write a book. It's called Redemption, the Cooperation Revolution. And I think it's what's missing with The Secret. In other words, why does The Secret not work? We all put the principles to work, but we don't. It's like the Music Man. We do the law of attraction. We're sitting with the instruments. The children haven't done best practices. They haven't studied music. They don't know how to play the kettle drum, trombone, or trumpet, or flute. And we don't get the symphony we hoped from the think method, because they also have to have, as Napoleon Hill said, develop specialized knowledge in your field of highest joy. Go find your field of highest joy and develop specialized knowledge. And you don't have to have the knowledge. You can go to people that have it and get it from them. But you must get the knowledge. And you have to have best practices in that field. And then you can do anything. And the idea of associating yourself, we all can develop ourselves to anything we want. And so what is our highest joy? And then we're not victims. Right. But we do have to get rid of our self-talk. We can't tell ourselves. I always say, push your DVD of when you say, I'm not that, or I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that. And I'll tell you where that comes up a lot. We have people that get dreams, and they do things in the wrong sequence. So why do they fail? They have weak plans, weak teams, and they lack the resources to go all the way. So they have to get strong plans, strong teams, and the resources to go all the way. Now, the biggest problem is their sequence. So what controls their income in the income pyramid? The answer is, what controls their income in the income pyramid is their knowledge, which is what we do at CEO Space International, their knowledge. So getting their knowledge up is so important. Then their mentor pool. Whoever is mentoring them is usually not the mentors of the highest good in that particular industry they're going for. So if they could up their mentors, if you're going to be in the airline industry, get Richard Branson to coach you. Get the best who's doing out-of-the-box airline operations and coach yourself for the next generation. So whatever your industry is, get your best mentors. And don't, if the CD says, I can't reach Richard Branson, push eject, take it out and throw it away. You can reach him in a week and he'll mentor you. No one at that level refuses, will you mentor me? And it's the most powerful language in the English language. Will you mentor me? On the other side, when we get done with the mentoring, is your community. You need a much bigger community. If you want the radio product to be reached by 50 million, 100 million, we need to enlarge the community of feeders to generate the 100 million to come in. So we go from millions to hundreds of millions. And that process begins to be organic, and you do it by strategy. And so your skill sets, your mentors, and your community define in the middle what you're trying to accomplish. And upgrading those is not as hard as you think, but you have to do it in the right sequence, which starts with the download for this, because this, getting the skill sets, brings you the mentors. So our goal is always to redo the sequence. One of the big CDs people play when they have dreams, I can't raise money. I can't raise capital. That's not me. And I've taken, when I tell people, go to CEO Space International and look at Lisa Nichols, superstar of The Secret of the Law of Attraction, Oprah, Larry King, looking at her online last year in $1 million advance for her book. This is an author who comes out with a book, and that book, when it comes out, Hillary Clinton was the last person to get $1 million advance. It was a woman, and that was 10 years ago. That was a decade ago. It doesn't happen very often. So last year, she's on all those talk shows, and she gets $1 million advance. What created that is always the thing. Now, she'll be on the film at CEO Space International saying, we did it. But the truth is, she did it. She did the work. She was crying, just crying as a single mom. I can't raise money. That CD was ejected. She put in a CD that I'm powerful, I can raise money. She learned the skills, the best practices. She got the mentors, and she got a community of investors she did not have. Now, the result of that is that she raised the money to become a superstar, have her own TLC television show, and teach on the Annex tours with Donald Trump. Now, that single mom went all the way. What changed? A little bit of software code in her brain. Now, that created the law of attraction for her. So I think all of our listeners can have that same result, but they need that result to become part of what they absolutely can do, and to get rid of anything that first comes up, just as if it's a CD, when it says, I can't do this. That is from a person you don't know and can no longer remember who programmed you. And it's just a bunch of firing in your brain, and it's not real. What's real is you can do anything, especially your dreams.
Okay, so let's talk about CEO space, because that's fascinating. You take the first couple of days and encourage people to go out there and help other people. Let's talk about that.
Well, we're doing cooperation reform for professionals. We give ongoing education credits for 22 professional categories where they get the consistent required by the state development of their credits for continuing education. And so those continuing education credits are very valuable for a law firm, a CPA, et cetera. When they go to those trainings, they hate them. They don't help them. They don't build the practice, really. And we do. We build the practice dramatically. But we change, whether it's a Fortune company, so the head of Nokia of Europe, or Memorex, or the larger firms that come in with their management groups. We change the silo managers across silo spectrums of Fortune companies. We're probably the most advanced, bleeding edge management training in the world today. Now, the owners of businesses, of course, want that. They come for it. But we do it all based on cooperation mechanics. How do you build your company, if it's a dentist office with a staff of 2, to be cooperative versus competitive? So we train you when you come in, unpack, go downstairs, that you're going to not do your agenda. You paid to come, but you're not going to do your agenda. You're going to go down to the lobby and you're going to say, what are you doing and how may I serve you? And if you can help them, you help them. And if you can't mentor or help them, you say, I'll scout for you, because there's 1,000 people there from 14 countries. And as you walk through that lobby, you're going to hit someone that can help that person within 15 minutes. So that scouting is very valuable, actually. So by the time you're doing that for 90 minutes, 100 people have tapped you on the shoulder and said, but wait a minute, what are you doing, Julie? And how may I help you at Law of Attraction Radio? Well, you get so many important contacts, you get so many important meetings in that 90 minutes that you forever give up this competitive model. You say, I get it now. And you say only one sentence, and it's a prayer in all face. You say in 90 minutes after arrival, my God if I had missed this, because you're starting to see the new way that we can hand off the global village to the unborn generation in a way that we could be proud to give it to them. And it isn't from the Beltway and the Congresses of the nations. We have to re-elect them. We have to vote, get much more active in voting, and never elect an incumbent. Send them in for 4 years and no entrenchment. Public service, 4 years, no entrenchment. That's the only final revolution we need. And we, the people, do that. We have all the power. We're just not using it. And in that revolution, we'll send cooperative lawmakers in to make new laws, and the nations will start to conform to what we're doing with each other anyway, because it works better. It's more efficient. It's more pleasant. And we have much more fun, and we reach our goals so much more rapidly.
Oh, that was powerful. I love that. Everything you said, you're right on target. Exactly.
Well, a lot of thought leaders, as you know, most of the secret stars, Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, John Asheronoff, Liesl Nichols, and if we go down the list, it's almost all of them. They teach at CEO Space, and they stand for the cooperation revolution. They stand with their full faith. They tell the world that CEO Space is the Super Bowl of human potential training for anyone that runs a business and is leading, and the planet shifters. And it is also the world revolution of moving laws and economics into a cooperation model instead of this failed competitive process, which is the final spiritual evolution. I mean, the spirit, of course, when you step out of your body, is not at war with itself or competing with itself. It just has unconditional love. It doesn't look across a bunch of other spirits stepping out, and it doesn't say, well, you're at one level because you had a beamer. You're at another level because you had a high school dropout. The PhD spirit and the high school dropout see each other as breathing orbs of light and love each other and have unconditional joy in each other's presence. And they forgive each other for all the ignorances they had back when they were in the hologram of our life, because this is a hologram. We're just being projected. And they start to see the delight, the delight, now that they are all light, of their lives. And they come back with joy for it. And I'm saying all of us can give ourselves the other side on this side by just waking up. And if you say, what is the one virus that controls everything and keeps it down and suppressed? It's competitive thinking and problem solving and how we relate to each other in non-spiritual terms. Spirits are not competitive with one another. And so all we have to do is begin to be toward the source of everything. Either there's a schizophrenic creator who's constantly thinking all the paranoids are after him, or there is a calm, loving, blissful, joyous creator that we're made in the image and likeness of. Why aren't we calm, loving, blissful, and co-creating with him, with all of the possibilities of that creation that the princes and princesses of the kingdom can do? And say, if you believe in string theory or you're agnostic or however you believe in energy fields, it's all the same. We're all the same, folks. And I'll give you a model for it. If you're Sunni or Wahhabi or Shiite, if you're Buddhist and Hindu, if you're Jewish and Muslim, if you're Catholic and Mormon, celebrate all the differences about the way you worship instead of punish it. The attribute of cooperation is you celebrate all diversity and thank God for it. It's so wonderful. We're not the same and we're different. We can learn. Tell me how you do it. When you talk to Shiite, Wahhabi, and the various sects of the Muslim faith, and I've studied the Quran and the Torah quite a bit of both, I say, tell me about your music. Tell me about your dress. Tell me about your food. Tell me about your song. To 7-year-olds, I have them celebrating each other. Finally, tell me about your faith and what you do that is different. And what's so amazing is 90% of what we all do is the same. We're made in the image and likeness. We all have that sweet loving of each other's spirits. We could see with those eyes instead of any other eyes. And we could detach and give up anything that has to do what's different about us. We don't punish what's different. We celebrate it. And then you ask yourself, is this more cooperative or celebrational, or is it more punishing and competitive? And you really get kind of just a visceral for that other. You don't want to be doing the other with your children or with your spouse. Are you and your spouse having bad language? Have you have habits where you're not talking to each other with loving, sweet interactions? Are you more competitive in your family? Would you like to be more cooperative, joyous, celebrational? Aren't you celebrating your spouse for the magnificence that they are? Are you saying, doing, or acting in any way that takes a drop of magnificence from their glass? Maybe you're trying to build them up to overflow, but you're crushing their self-esteem to do it. Why don't you just add to their self-esteem? Never take a drop from their self-esteem. Never bleed magnificence from their wonderful chalice. Just give them the joy of the fulfillments of their own life.
I love that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. That's what we all have got to hear. And as you said, we can change that CD in our head. What's the first step in doing that?
That's another issue that gets to be difficult. You've got to recognize that your goal is in set. What's your goal? To be more cooperative, because that's the only way to get rid of the virus. The first goal is to know you have the virus. So the world is infected and we reinfect wirelessly because it gives us self-esteem. We actually are self-loathing. Our spirit is fine, but over our spirit, we feel we haven't been successful enough in our relationship, in our truth, in our highest integrity. And where we've broken integrity, it's always with ourselves. It's not when we cheated on our spouse or did something that was horrible in life or stole money. It is disappointments we created that give us to our soul conversation, because the soul's witnessing it, that we could have done better. And because we don't forgive ourselves, we make ourselves feel better by criticizing people, places, and things over the last 3 weeks. We get in groups and conversations and we do that. Now, in the process of doing that, we have brain bundles, little bundles of wiring. And this wiring is speaking a certain way to my spouse. And I have to stop and reform that bundle. I have to speak the way I want to speak to my September. So she has joy in her life, safety in her life, high self-esteem in her life, and she has a mechanism of constant refreshment from the waters of my words, because that's how she's going to hear and see me. And so if I'm doing things where she's not responsive, she's giving me back words from her bundles that would trigger my old bundle, I still have to deny that and give her the opposite of what she's giving me. Now, slowly, if she's resigned to be my partner and enjoyed to be committed to that obligatory journey we're taking together, she will work on her own bundle. We will come together with conversations to work on our mutual bundles. But she may have had other things happen in her life when she was going through her experience, which may have really hardened those bundles. It may take patience, time, because best practices take repetition. They take repetition for all of us, whether we're surfing or hang gliding. But what's the master adult skill? And the master adult skill is the work you do on self to raise your potential to its highest possibility. Anything less than that limits your life. And so you're typically in a place of compromise or resignation, both of which you can remove by being around people who are in places of endless mobility and elevation of one another, each other, and their communities they have presence around. So when they come into a presence of a community, they elevate the entire community with their being and their state and their language. And the only thing you really have control over is your state of being. So if you want to be a victim, you will be, and you'll enjoy that. If you want to be attached to your illness, you'll see yourself in the world as the expression of how people give you sympathy for your being a victim of your illness. If you want to be in joy all the time and you want to be abundant and happy, it doesn't come from outside of you. It comes from the state of being that you declare as your birthright. And we just weren't taught, children. We take 5 and 7-year-olds, we get them in a circle, and one of them's crying terribly, and we say, "Look, here, stand up. You threw the kickball in this kid's face, and you and your little group here had a lot of fun. You laughed. Do you understand that the mark on his face is not why he's crying? He's not crying because he fell on his butt. He's crying because you laughed. And he's crying because he came to play kickball with you, thinking he was safe, and he would have love from you." That you would be his family and he would have love. He would be safe and you would love him. That you laugh like that means you don't love him. So what I want to ask is, do you want to hurt him? Do you want to throw the kickball? Here's the kickball. Do you want to throw it at his face 5 more times while he's crying? Do you want to put him in the hospital? Do you want to break his nose? What do you want to do at age 6? What do you want to do? And no one wants to throw the kickball. Do you want to throw? You were in his group. Do you want to throw it? He doesn't want to throw it. And then I say to the whole group, do you think that was wrong? Do you think he should have been made safe and should have been able to be loved and played with? Now, what do you think the punishment should be for him for doing it? And they come up with terrible punishment. No, we're not going to hang Billy from the tree at recess. That's a good punishment, but it's too severe. So, and then they come up with different things. And we say, okay, let me give you a punishment I suggest. For 1 week, now that's a year for a kid that's 5 years old. For 1 week, why doesn't Billy come into the school and wait at the outside door there? And every time that John comes in, Billy has to be John's best friend for 1 week. Billy has to make him safe, loved, and let him play all the games and be his best friend, interested. And would you agree that that's a good makeup? It's not too serious, but you could show him a new way. You could show him the opposite of throwing the kickball. Would that make it up for you? They all applaud. They get that. Now we'll have a group hug. They get that in 7 minutes. They can't teach it to their parents because they're too brain damaged. They can't teach it, but they learn cooperation so quickly and they harden. They keep that lesson. So if it's not cooperative and it is not just enhancing to the self-esteem of the group, they won't do it. They don't want competitive punishment. They want cooperative celebration, and they hold it and they make it a society. And those kids get it. But we're not teaching values that simple, which are not religious and are family concentric. And it makes for different us's when we get up to have to be citizens of the world with each other. Because you're either going to be a top shark in the feeding frenzy eating off each other, or you're going to be dolphins singing and playing and protecting the pod and having the joy of life. And I want you to be dolphins, not white greats, if it's possible.
So how do we go about starting this going? I mean, education, we need to do something about that. And our kids, we need to start at home with all the listeners. And I know the listeners are all in agreement with this. But what's our first step?
Well, you could help me next month with going to Amazon all over the world and getting Redemption, the Cooperation Revolution. We're putting it on Amazon the last week of September. It's a fairly big book, and it's the rules of how to change world, government, and family to the cooperation revolution. And we want millions signing on to that revolution. Secondly, I think that you can begin to become a cooperationalist. You can start to think about cooperation. We have a site. It's called coSpaceSuccessChannel.com. It's 24 hours of broadcasting to help, where you can just play in the background when you're not listening to Law of Attraction, which ought to be your first choice. Just lessons from Jack Canfield, lessons from Bob Proctor on cooperation dynamics. And it'll change everything. It'll change certainly your businesses. And so that's free in 24 hours a day and really great material on the cooperation revolution. And then, finally, if you get to a point where you want to come to our retreats, they're intensive. They're 10-day retreats that the heads of many of the largest companies in the world have come through. And we have now influenced in 140 countries, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of owners of businesses that represent tens of millions of employees who have reformed themselves, like 3M Corporation, into cooperation cultures, cooperation architecture, to move their performance in their workspace up. Because performance, when you're in celebration, rises, and performance in punishment has a glass ceiling. You can't rise above the competitive ceiling on performance. Right. And so we burst that ceiling. And that's why CEOs come in their Falcon jets to our retreats. They run their business from our place, but they pick up how to reform their cultures into a Zappos-like. And if you read Zappos' book, you see what that represents. They built a cooperation company. I mean, I look at Apple, and it's not perfect, but it's cooperation driven. You've got cots on the floor and Starbucks and beautiful gyms, and people come in and stay overnight and stay weekends. And Stephen Jobs, even ill, is walking around the floor touching people and getting involved with them. And it's not just motivation. He's getting from them, they're getting from him, and it changes everything. They're not competing with Microsoft. They don't even think about what Microsoft is doing To them, it's an antique model Ford. What they're doing is making the iPad go to a generation the world's never seen before. They're thinking the iPhone is an antique, and they're bringing out the new. No one will be able to compete with that phone. And that's what they're dreaming of. And when you're at that level, where your only idea is quality for the customers you serve at a level that's never been seen before, there's no competition, and everybody copies them, and you see a world benefiting from them. And this little company in Cupertino, with its 75 billion of cash in the bank, was just rated as an asset-rich company that was higher than Exxon, which took 120 years to build for Standard Oil and for the oil assets in the ground and under the ocean. And this company that only had ideas in their mind passed them on value on the fortune list for a moment in time in 2011. What do you think that's worth in the greatest recession we've seen of all time, when the little guy from Cupertino has accumulated more assets and cash on hand than entire nations across the planet?
Amazing. Amazing. So we all know that in order to be successful, you have to hang out with the successful people. And basically, that's what you've also created, not only training, but a chance to be and play with the successful people.
Well, we bring in the superstars that are the coaches to the board chairman of the largest companies in the world. So the coaches in our place run contracts with advising the senior management and the executives of 82% of the 10,000 Fortune companies. So any of those large companies can get one of them, a Booz Allen partner, Accenture partner, but they can't get lots of them all in one place working as teams cooperatively. They're not competing, helping make sure that your vision plan, your implementation, system execution, breakdown issues are resolved and on to the next client. You can't get that. And our group are tithing their brain. They're not charging. They're not selling. They don't want you to engage them. And they're taking 5,000 private appointments during the week with the owners of those businesses and professional practice professionals, such as an architect, an engineer, CPA, an attorney, and so forth, and helping them to grow their practices or their business. I haven't seen anything like it, with that dedication, that mentor college of that many mentors, all in cooperation, working together. Never seen anything like it.
So is this available to everybody, or is it just available to the people in the corporate world?
Well, it's available to everybody. I mean, I don't think you'd want to come to CEO Space because it's a business training. Its goal is to take a business owner and who wants to grow their business much more rapidly, a development company who wants to raise capital and get their markets put together, or a professional practice, or investors who want to invest in venture space and they want to get the kind of profits they used to make in the market. But if you park money in a venture that's hyper-growing and well-managed, and it's going to be $1 buy-in and you could sell it for $50 in 7 years, that's big money. Every 10,000 is $500,000. And you can make really big money by diversifying in that kind of space. And so we have a kind of Disneyland of ventures that are going to hyper-grow in all these new industries. And they're using us 20, 30 times in a row. And I'll give you an example of that. Tow Truck in a Box. They have a device they want to put out in the market. And they didn't have the money to come to our place. They went through a program we have, and they got the money to come. They came to our place. What they got there was the packaging for the box, the manufacturing in Asia, the distribution across the United States. When they wanted it, they came back many times. They got tens of millions of capital from investors. When they wanted to go to Canada, they got Canada. When they wanted to go to Mexico, they got Slim, who's the wealthiest man on the Forbes list. And they were in his home shooting tequila shots with him in his home and on his plane. And that got them a whole bunch of distribution in Mexico. When they wanted to go to the Gulf, they were on the yacht with the King of Jordan, the head sheikh from UAE, and the grandson of the King of Saudi Arabia. And they made a huge deal there. Then they got 40,000 retail stores. When they were coming to their 20th one of these CEO Spaces, they were at a platinum dinner just giving back. They didn't want anything. They're just giving back. They're holding what's called roundtables to tell other people how to get into 40,000 retail stores. They're introducing buyers to those other people. They're just giving back. They don't want anything. They met someone at the Platinum Meal, and they brought him to a New York firm, and they're now getting $100 million of inventory financing. And the owner is on film saying, when you come back to give at this place, you solve all your business problems the last 60 days. You get new alliances, new business markets. And then you get things like that $100 million. And you can't give here without getting back, which is the law of attraction. So it's the living. Bob Proctor said, I've held the original edition of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich all of my life for 42 years since I picked that book up. And everything changed when I picked that book up. And I still have that dog-eared original copy I carry with me. But I didn't know Napoleon Hill. I didn't grow up on his lap like you did, Bernie. And so you've created the living Think and Be Rich. It's not something you read and try and do. It's something you come into and can't get away from best practices to become. So you think and are rich, and you do it through best practices of the book. It's the living Think and Grow Rich. And so that's what we've tried to create. And it seems to reduce cost and reduce time to reach growth goals. So it just takes less time and cost to reach the growth that people are looking for anyway.
That's wonderful. So could you give a bit of advice, because we're almost to a close here. Could you give us a bit of advice for those people who are unemployed right now and trying to survive? What would be your advice to them?
Get too busy making a fortune to struggle to try and accomplish paying your bills and earning a living. If you're too busy making a fortune to earn a living, you're in the right space. And you do it two ways. Get involved with hyper-growth entrepreneur companies that are growing in this 1,000 new industries. And they're all over the place. Do it through local networks, do it through your Chamber of Commerce, or come to CEO Space. And you'll get on the board of a company, you'll have stock in the company, and you'll get a pay raise from what you used to make. And you won't be an employee, you'll be a partner. You'll be an owner. So if you don't own it, don't do it, because you don't have wealth on the resale. You just have cash flow. Second, if you are entrepreneurial and you already have ideas to do yourself, then come to CEO Space and let us help you get the capital. So you're on salary while you develop your firm and develop your hyper-growth firm all the way for your own pay.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That is terrific. Bernie, I can't thank you enough. This is fabulous. It's a thrill, and I hope you come back, because the information you've just provided us is exactly what we needed to hear.
Well, in today's market, Julie, you've got Dr. David Gruder on our cover page, CEO Space International. He wrote the book, The New IQ, Integrity. We all have to get to the highest level of integrity with each other all over the global village. And he wrote the Bible for us, The New IQ, Integrity. His film online, because he won't tell you anything's not integrity, is the greatest overview of what we do in our work. For any of your listeners that would like to get a quick 10-minute over an orange juice, I'd like to see what the CEO Space is all about. CEO Space International, it clicks to Mandarin and Swahili, so any language on the planet, and you're able to watch Dr. Gruder's film. And I think you'll know if that's a matter of the law of attraction just for you. And thanks for listening.
Thank you, Bernie. It was wonderful. And we will go to Amazon to get your book. And when is that?
It's coming out the last week of September when we release it. And it's the shot heard round the world. We go to all 10,000 Fortune board chairmen and a lot of the congresses in 12 countries, and they're getting copies of it gratis from us to change laws and governments.
Wonderful. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to put that link directly on my host page so that everyone will not forget to do this.
Well, I appreciate it. It'll be a big item. I'll get you a copy with the book on tape, and it's going to change a lot of lives and businesses and dreams.
Great. Okay. Thank you so much again. Really loved it. And as we close another show, it is my sincerest wish that you have a wonderful week ahead. Remember, through you, the world changes to reflect your happiness. If you'd like to comment on today's show, please send me an email to Jules at loaradionetwork.com.